Okay, well everybody, I am so pumped to meet you at this session and connect with you today. So my journey took me from being a professional kite surfer to owning a kiteboarding school in the Dominican Republic for 21 years to where I am now, which is working with Bill and our 200,000 plus volunteers. We work in the Mountain West region, so it's fewer, but we have 200,000, 220,000, and we lobby Congress. And so we're here to tell you today that if we want to solve climate change, we need you and your organization, whoever you represent, to lobby Congress. So what is lobbying? You've heard of it and thought, like, that's terrible, but I can tell you it's not. It's really fun. You might have heard of it as advocacy. That's like a jargon that gets thrown around a lot. It's asking for what you want. You could use these same techniques you're going to learn today to lobby other people other than Congress, like your teenagers or anyone. It's worth your time. If you're thinking of your work schedule to do your sustainability work and meet your climate goals, it's worth lobbying Congress for federal laws. Why? Why? Well, you can see a law like the Inflation Reduction Act, it lowers pollution. And America, we don't only just lower our pollution, but we influence the entire globe. So by creating laws, we have a huge impact. And why you? Well, you are trusted messengers. So this is like a code word or jargon for people in the community who are leaders and who, the member of Congress, your senators or your congressperson, when you talk, they listen. Much like Geraldine here with Congressman John Curtis in Utah, you represent more, and so your voice matters more. This is your mission if you choose to accept it. All right, audience participation. You got warmed up with Raleigh in the beginning. Has anyone here ever called their congressperson's office about policy? A lot of you. That's awesome. That's like our number one thing we ask volunteers to do. This one's tricky. Written an op-ed about policy. Many of you, congratulations. And anyone done official lobbying? Lots of you. All right, well, come to tell me more tips after we finish. Oh, my turn still. So our style and strategy. We're going to go through our approach. It's a little different. Talk about the levers of political will, how we show our popular ideas in the district, and how to know what to ask for when we go lobbying. So CCL's style, which really works because we get results and we have fun doing it, this is so key. We are focused on what we are for, the big solutions. Of course, we're going to see things that we're not for. Those are like the things that we're against. When we see those things, we can tactfully and strategically kind of ignore them, or we can really dive in and say, hey, tell me more. I would like to understand. So we really try to build that relationship and get to know where they're coming from. Appreciation is something we laid off every single lobby meeting with, and it really sets the stage for a good dialogue with a member of Congress. Also, pro tip for anyone else you want to lobby, always start with appreciation. And progress, even if it's slow, even if we see little steps, we celebrate it. And that's very, very important. And then finally, we are completely bipartisan. We are also nonpartisan. We work with both parties. We want laws that both sides will agree on. Everyone gets brought to the table, and the next Congress doesn't just overturn those laws. Our values, which we bring to all of our work. There'll be a test later. No, I'm just kidding. Next slide. So as you read the slide, think of which value resonates with you. If you were going into a meeting, and we had a plan to break into 2 groups and do mock lobbying, but you overwhelmed us with your participation. Thank you so much. There are seats in the front if you guys want to come sit down. Just think of these values and maybe write down a little note of which one most resonates with you. And then later we're going to call some folks up to help us practice lobbying. So also put that in your pocket for later. All right, so basically, how we work makes it work. By being 220,000 volunteers with these focus, the big solution listening, working together, being friendly, being prepared, persistent, and polite, we get laws passed in Congress.
Okay, now I'm going to cover a few things about our levers of political will. So Citizens Climate Lobby organizes in these 5 different levers, and we use these as tools where if you're pulling on one lever and it's not being effective enough, we work on levers that might be to help influence policy at the federal level. For this group today, we're focusing on 3 of our levers, which is lobbying Congress, media relations, and grass-tops engagement. So lobbying Congress, that's sort of our most powerful tool that we can use because it is direct contact with your member of Congress, and it's most effective to be able to communicate with them, share your story and passion for what is important to you around climate. And it's really a great opportunity we see as deepening relationships with your member of Congress. So we're not looking at this as a one and done kind of meeting, but we're looking at this as a progression over time where we're building a relationship with a member of Congress and making connections that then in time they reach out to us because they see that we're a trusted messenger or a trusted source for information for them to be able to draw conclusions from. So we're always about deepening relationships. Here's a unique way to meet with your member of Congress. That's Congressman Curtis and myself, both arrows there, and that's on a hike we did with the congressman. We do an annual hike with the congressman. He's very receptive, and it's just a point to be made that it doesn't have to just be lobbying in an office. There are other opportunities that you can utilize to connect with your member of Congress. And this gives us an opportunity to spend 5 hours with a member of Congress where we strategically think about what we want to talk about with the member and share views and perspectives and hear what they have to say. So this is some of the evidence of the effect that we have in building political will. These are the numbers of how many calls and messages to Congress, our meetings with Congress, and local media hits. So we're a large organization, like Laurel said, we're over 220,000 volunteers, and we are building political will by pulling on all these different levers at the same time. So media relations is one of the levers that we were talking about, and the value of the media relations is it gives the opportunity to share a view that then is received by the DC offices, because in DC they're going to be looking at what the papers in their district or state are saying about certain issues. So it's a really powerful tool to be using that to reach your member of Congress. It's a way to reach the audience of the entire readership, or if it's a TV segment, the TV station, et cetera, et cetera. This is something that not only are we advocating for climate policy, but we are also, this is a very valuable tool to show appreciation for a member of Congress. Like Laurel said, it's very powerful to be appreciating the things that people are doing rather than demonizing them for not doing enough. Lastly, grass-tops engagement. This is another powerful tool that we thought would be really effective to communicate with all of you, because your voices as leaders in your communities is an opportunity to leverage that influence. Imagine we have all these volunteers going into these offices. We want to add another tool to the toolbox, which is where we have grass-tops support businesses, community leaders, municipal electeds, et cetera, who can come in and be trusted messengers that will be gaining the attention of the member of Congress and really making it an opportunity to have more influence, which is what we're really working for. And this is also, like I mentioned, a way to support volunteer lobbyists, because if they can go into a meeting with a member of Congress with a list of support from businesses and industries in their district, it's really going to have a lot of influence.
Alrighty, we are going to move right along, and real quick I want to teach you about the laws that will lower pollution, what we are working on. So here they are, and I'm going to just very quickly run through them one by one. Don't worry, you don't have to take a nap, it's going to go fast. So carbon pricing, a fee on fossil fuels, and people get a carbon cashback. here's how it works. You charge the fee at the source. That's at the coal mine, the oil well, or at the port of entry. You return the money back to Americans like a COVID dividend check to help pay for the rising costs. And then when you pair it with the border adjustment, this is something that the conservative lawmakers love the idea of, to protect American business from dirtier foreign producers. But in general, there's not a lot of political will for this solution. So, healthy forests, because everybody loves trees. And this is a policy area that's not as impactful, but it's a stepping stone. We can get them working and pointed in the right direction of more powerful laws later. We're very excited to partner with Rewiring America, and our volunteers all over the country are teaching their community members and working in collaboration with businesses, other like communities, cities, that's what I'm trying to say, counties, to help electrify. And this is all thanks to the money from the Inflation Reduction Act, which we really lobbied hard for, which was really exciting to get passed. And that brings us to what we are working on this year, which is clean energy permitting reform. Because we're behind on our goals, and if we don't get these electrons moving fast and generated, then there's a risk that we could lose 80% of the IRA's pollution reduction potential. So this is huge. And we have an act. It's the Energy Permitting Reform Act. And today, when we do our mock lobby meeting, and remember, I'm going to call a few people to come up here, we're going to lobby for this. And here's Senator Brasso, the youth from Cody, Wyoming, and DC in June. It passed through committee in an extremely bipartisan manner, 15-4. It could pass this Congress, maybe in the lame duck in an omnibus bill. The bottom line on this one, look, it is bipartisan, which means that not everybody is going to get what they love with this bill. But when you do the calculation from 10% up to a quarter less pollution in the upcoming decades. So, who here has heard of the Energy Permitting Reform Act before? Not too many people, a few. Okay, so the ones that you have your hands raised, raise them higher and tell me, how are you feeling about it? Is it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, I don't know?
It's
I
a
see a
hard
thumbs
pill.
up, I see a 2 thumbs up.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but absolutely necessary.
It's a hard pill to swallow. Okay, thank you. Yes, yeah, because you're not going to get everything, so there's some provisions. Okay, Bill, take it away to teach them.
All right. Well, we love hearing that, because it is a little bit of, it doesn't have everything. It's not perfect, but it's something that we see as a very powerful tool and effective for the environment, no pun intended, where we are today. So I'm going to talk about how we lobby, and so this is a lead up to our exercise and actually practicing. So we're going to teach you about lobbying, then we're going to have a mock lobby meeting, and then debrief afterwards. So this is sort of how we organize. We'll talk about our one rule. We have a primary ask. We set roles and an agenda because we want to be really organized when we meet with our members of Congress. And like Laurel said earlier, this technique is something that you can use whether you're meeting with your member of Congress or you're advocating with your kids about what you want to have them do. Just kidding. But yes, you can use this in any type of meeting where you want to build a relationship and really draw out questions and learn more about what their positions are on specific issues that you want to bring up. So we'll go through the meeting rules and agenda, then we'll have a mock lobby meeting and debrief afterwards. So our one rule is that we want to be working with respect, appreciation, and gratitude. I'm really proud to be involved with Citizens Climate Lobby because of that approach, and especially with how polarized things have become in our country. I think it's really important to ground ourselves on this approach. So what we do ask for is anyone who wants to lobby with Citizens Climate Lobby that they take this one rule and really adhere to it. And if you can't, that's okay. It just means that maybe doing what we're doing as far as lobbying goes might not be the right fit for you, and one of the other levers might be a way that you can help out. So we have a primary ask. Laurel talked about it. It's the permitting reform bill. This is what we do every lobby session we go to. We have, right before we have our lobby days, our DC staff is sort of paying attention to sort of the atmosphere in Washington and where things are moving and where we can be most effective as an organization. And we then decide on what policies we'll be advocating for. And then imagine we have over 1,000 people who come from all over the country going and lobbying on this specific ask. We also have supporting ask that we use. As Laurel mentioned, you know, there may be an office that's not as far along on the climate issue, and we still want to be asking of them some sort of bill that they can support. So we have supporting ask that we may use in deciding on what that audience is really ready for. So a bit about our meeting roles. We, as I said, we really want to be organized in how we run a meeting, and so we've practiced. That's what we're going to do here in just a moment. But through that practicing, these are the areas that we want to be covering. So we have somebody who leads the meeting. It's always really important to have an appreciation for the person you're meeting with. And that has to be authentic. It's not something where you're like, I appreciate you doing X if you really don't believe it. So it means that you're wanting to be doing research with the member of Congress that you're going to meet with and really understand their views and what they are focused on and find something that you can genuinely appreciate about them. Time is really important to track. We find that it's really key to start off the meeting with a timekeeper who asks how much time the member has. And with respect for that time, it means a great deal because their time is precious and we want to treat it as that. So if the timekeeper hears that it's 20 minutes that the member of Congress has, if the meeting's going and it's getting close to 20 minutes, we need to figure out how to wrap that up and say to the member, and we appreciate your time, we see we're coming up to the limit. And you know, generally offering that respect to their time, I can count many times where the member of Congress actually let us have more time because we were concerned about his time. So it's really a great tool to use. Of course, we want to have note-taking happening because we want to be looking at this as a relationship that we're building over time. And so by tracking what conversations have had with the office, then we can go back to those notes and really prepare ourselves for the next meeting, knowing that we met with this person, we're meeting with them again, so we can start from where we left off to a certain degree, or we're meeting with somebody new and it may mean that we have to go a little back to the basics and kind of build a relationship up from there. So it's really good to be tracking things as a note taker. Our asker is the person who would have the primary ask or the supporting ask ready to provide with a member of Congress. And again, we do simple little things of respect where rather than shoving on every piece of paper for everything that we would like to ask them to support, we are actually going to ask them if they prefer to receive it in paper form or electronically or not at all. And just being respectful of them and what they want is really key to building that relationship. Then we deliver, that's sharing the information, follow-up, tech support. Tech support is something that we would do for our virtual lobby meetings. So I would like to just ask you to think about what kind of role you would like to play in a mock meeting. And we're gonna have to figure this out on the fly because we were planning to have smaller groups and we're gonna organize that here in just a moment. A little bit about the meeting agenda. We really want to have sort of a beginning and middle and end. And so, you know, we always want to be thanking the member of Congress for meeting with us. We do that time check. And then we ask for all the volunteers to do quick introductions. So I'm going to ask Laurel to share what an introduction sounds like, just so you get a sense of what it is.
Well, thanks so much for meeting with me. I'm Laurel. I'm a small business owner, and I'm on the front lines of a changing climate, so this is very meaningful that you're taking time today. Thank you.
Yeah, so it can just be really quick. While you're there, you know, speaking from your heart is always really a valuable tool to use. So we have sort of the beginning phases of the meeting, but to me the real meat of the meeting is in the middle there, because what we're wanting to do is really be meeting with a member of Congress and trying to be interested rather than be interesting, meaning that you want to be, asking questions and getting perspectives from the member of Congress to really understand where they stand on a certain issue, be able to get questions that you may not be able to answer at that time, but then be able to take those questions back with you, find answers. It gives you an opportunity to follow up with that office, provide resources and information that can be really helpful to move the relationship and the conversation forward. Really important to listen. We are always an organization that wants to be more focused on listening than talking. And then we always want to, from the listening and the open-ended questions, really decide on a follow-up that happens. So, I'm a carpenter by trade. I never dreamed I would go to DC and lobby. It was something that was really, at first, a very overwhelming experience for me. But it's taught me a lot, and it's been a very empowering experience. But the things that we have found in our process of doing that are these things that, we always want to keep our conversations confidential in those offices. We want to have the respect of the member of Congress that we're not going to go and take a conversation that we had and go spill it on public media sites, because that just loses trust with that member of Congress. It's really important to do research, but that appreciation that I shared with you, we want to be sure that, you want to look for something that's happened recently, not something that happened 3 years ago. It really shows the member that you are looking into their office, understanding where they're coming from, and really wanting to be looking strategically at who they are as members of Congress and what they are comfortable hearing about. So you're not going to go into an office that leans far to the left and talk about, building the economy and creating jobs as much as you might talk about climate issues, and vice versa. If you are in a conservative office, you may focus on economics or jobs or things that can be more appealing to a conservative audience. So it's really trying to understand where they're coming from. And I think it's really important to think about, we're not in there to say, we're right, you're wrong. I mean, just think about it. If you are somebody and I say to you, you're wrong, you're not doing enough, and you're wrong about how your position is, how does that automatically make you feel?
This isn't going well.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want that to happen. And in cases where, people have gotten a little moved in that direction, you can actually see this wall go up with the person that you're meeting with, and then the meeting's over. And so it's really important to be thinking about that. So don't demonize people. Celebrate them for the things that they are doing. Don't demonize them for not doing enough. This is something that we're told by members of Congress over and over again, and it's been very effective. And lastly, speak from the heart. It's, if you're authentic, I'm not a lobbyist, I'm a carpenter by trade, and being authentic in who you are as a person really hits home when you're in meetings.
Okay, well, the good news is we are exactly on time, so that part is going great. The bad news is what I had planned is that we would be like, all the ones go in that corner with Bill and all the twos come up here with me now. Obviously, that is not going to work. So what I propose, and by a show of hands, is there anyone who's willing to come up and do the lobby meeting with us in front of everybody? Would it, yeah? Mark, you're my favorite, thank you. A couple more, yeah, bring your chair and come on up. And then we're gonna talk about the roles, we'll do it all together. Be brave, yeah, come on up, I've got a chair for you. Yeah, we need like 6 or 7 people. Thank you so much for your willingness, yeah. Okay, so really quickly, we're just going to introduce yourself and then, do you need a chair? You want to bring one? Yeah, bring one, because we definitely do these meetings sitting down. So just super quick, your name, where you're from, and your job.
My name is Chris. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I do sustainability work with the Homeowners Association.
Mark Newcomb, I'm a Teton County Commissioner from Teton County, Wyoming. Just distinguish us from at least 2 other Teton counties. And Yeah, I'm very concerned about climate change, it impacts air quality, and could impact our economy.
John Clark, Ridgeway, Colorado Mayor.
Jonathan Godis, Northwest COG, Regional Grants Navigator, City of Bowman Springs City Councilor, and President of CAST.
I'm Rick Tofino, I'm the Managing Director of Vanguard Solar, based in Denver, Colorado. We're a commercial, industrial, small, utility scale EPC provider. So.
Genevieve Oswald, I'm the only woman up here.
Wait, what about me?
Oh, Laurel's here. The only female volunteer. I'm a small business owner and a town of Taos, New Mexico council member.
Well, perfect. Okay, so in this mock lobby meeting, I'm going to be your senator, and I'm going to be Montana Senator John Tester, farmer, dry farmer, and so you are going to be lobbying me on permitting reform, and so we need all of those roles that are on here. So we have to define the leader in the mock meeting. The leader doesn't have a big role because the meeting's only 10 minutes, but usually the leader really makes sure we're on track. But just can hand it over. Like I can be the leader and just hand it over to you guys. You do all the talking. So who's going to be the leader? I need to write this down on this one. Amongst yourselves.
I'll be the leader.
Yes. Okay. And remind me your name.
My name's Chris.
Chris, you're going to be the leader. Now the appreciator is a rad job. It's a real good one if you have young people, if you have shy people. So who do you think might want to be the appreciator? Yes, and remind me your name. Genevieve. Genevieve is going to be the appreciator. Now, you might be asking yourself, what are we going to appreciate Senator Tester for? Don't worry, I have a handout for that. I have a lot of handouts over here. So these are from his website, press releases, things he's excited about. Time monitor, who's wearing a watch? And remind me your name? John, yes, okay, very good. So John, remember your role is when you introduce yourself, you're gonna ask me, how much time do we have? And then at 2 minutes to the top, you are gonna be like, we have 2 minutes, we gotta wrap it up. Okay, awesome. Anyone want to take notes? Yeah, Mark? Or you want to, Mark?
I can take notes.
Or you could be the asker?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
terrible at asking.
Yeah, let's make you the asker. Sorry, this is my plant over here. Okay. Well, all of you should be taking notes furiously right now. We'll just say that. All right, and then who wants to be the deliverer? Here's the asks. So it's our one pager. And then I've got a little more supplemental material that you'll just like ever so nonchalantly hand over.
I can do that if you want.
Rick?
You want it?
Down to you.
See me.
Okay, Rick is going to be the deliverer. Okay, the discussion is going to be all of you. And on the screen behind you, this is so unfair, are the ideas of open-ended questions. So if they're struggling to ask open-ended questions that are not like, do you support this policy, yes or no? Because that's not really going to get you a good answer. Then help them by shouting out the questions that will be behind them. And listener, who's going to be the listener?
I don't care.
Jonathan, you're going to be the, Jonathan, you be the photographer.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but then I saved the best one for last, which is the follow-up. It's the thank you card that you run into the office and you all furiously sign it in the hallway of the halls of Congress, and then someone runs in and says, please give this to the nice senator who met with us or their staffer, and then they feel happy. Okay, good, yeah. And we're still on time, I think? Oh, we're even ahead of time. Questions from my lobby team?
When do you appreciate?
Yeah, let's go back to the meeting outline. And let me also see, I made this like beautiful handout, but then I forgot to print it, so this is the only one I have. Yeah, sorry about that. That was it. That was a huge fail. So yeah.
At the beginning.
Go ahead.
Just the leader start with a thank you and.
Yeah, so the leader starts with thanks for meeting with us. Then comes the time check. How much time do we have for this meeting? Then comes the intros. What you did before was perfect. I forgot to say where I was from. They usually like to know that too, because they want to know if you're a constituent. The appreciation, and you kind of do that with your intro, and you do your intro and the time check, and then the purpose. We are here to save the world. No, they'll be like, oh, Senator Brasso, we are here to save the world. Okay, make the ask, and then the discussion. Do you guys feel nervous?
A little bit.
Me too. Me too. I'm gonna be a really easy John Tester. He's nice, friendly. I've never met with him. All right. Should we put 10 minutes on the clock?
Okay.
Bill, will you time us and also give John a little note? Okay. All right. So and scene. They all walk in. Senator Tester is standing there in his overalls.
Senator Tester, I haven't seen you since you pulled my tractor out of the ditch. Can I introduce my team? How much time do we got?
Oh, that's for later. That's the end. Hey, it's so great to see you. It's so great to see you again. You know, I always love meeting with you guys. I was glad I could be there when you're in your time of need, when the tractor got stuck. So, great.
How much time do we have here?
Oh.
That's my question.
Oh, also time out from the scene.
I was trying to do the handoff.
We practice a lot. Yeah, so you would say something like, let's just go around and do a round of introductions.
Let's go around and
And
do
you
a
could
round
just-
of introductions.
You could go down the line. Oh, and you can start with yourself. Just remind, you know.
Chris, I'm from
yeah.
Denver, Colorado. I work with HOAs and sustainability.
Senator Tester, it's an honor and a pleasure. I'm Mark Newcomb from whatever, Teton County, Montana.
Great to see you. Love Teton County.
Hi Senator, I'm John Clark, I'm from Billings, and I saw you when you were running last time, and I really enjoyed everything you had to say. I'm also going to be the timekeeper today, so I wonder how much time we have. How much time do you have for this?
Oh, well, John, thank you so much. You know, as a member of Congress, I always love hearing compliments about myself, and I really could also talk for a very long time about how stoked I am to be your senator, but in the interest of time, we're going to keep on going. So yeah, we have about 10 minutes today.
About 10 minutes, okay, thank you. I'll keep track of that for us.
Hi, Senator. My name is Jonathan Godis, Glenwood Springs City Council, and President of CAS, which represents 40 municipalities and local governments across Colorado, Idaho, Wyoming, and California. So we're members of your constituency.
Oh, wow, heavy hitter. Okay. Amazing to have you. Thanks for making the time.
Hi, Senator. My name is Rick Tofino. I'm a small business owner from Denver, Colorado. Should I get into the policies, right? You know, talk about how these things impact our business or no?
You could say, like, if you have like a really interesting member of your lobby team, give them a little more time to share a little more about their story that you think strategically will hit the heart of that person.
Because I'll say something to the effect of permitting reform directly affects our business as well as, you know, the employees that we support as well as our communities. So thank you for giving us the time.
Oh gosh, yeah, no, I'm really all about supporting American business. You know, you are in my heart, and we want to do everything that we can to make sure that you know, we're looking out for you guys. So thanks for your work.
Hi, Senator. Thank you so much for meeting us today. My name is Genevieve Oswald, and I'm a business owner in Missoula. I'm also the daughter of a veteran, and I just really appreciate the veteran support that you offer to all of our veterans, all the bills you get passed to support them and their families. It goes a long way for me and mine.
Oh, that's so amazing to hear. You know, I'm on the Veteran Affairs Committee, which you all know because I'm sure you did your research for this meeting. And so to hear that appreciation just like fills my cup. And yeah, but I know we're short on time. So do you know, tell me more about what you're here for today.
Well, in particular, we've noticed across the U.S. some impacts of climate change, and I think you must probably be noticing some of the same things. We'd love to hear more about what you have seen in your state around the impacts of climate change, and we are here to ask for your support on a couple key items, a couple key policies and legislative actions that would really help us address climate change.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, being a dry farmer, what's Senator Tester's wife's name?
Margaret.
No, Shannon, no, Sherry, Cheryl, no. She and I, you know, when we're out there working on the farm, we see it, we see the effects of it. So we know that climate change is real, and we know that we need to do something about it. Is there a specific bill that you wanted to maybe chat about today, or?
Well, right now, a few colleagues of yours have put forward a bipartisan bill for permitting reform, and we fully support that permitting reform. We recognize that
There's your cheat sheet.
it contains a number of trade-offs that can both benefit anybody who wants to produce energy of any sort, as well as helping get that energy connected to the grid. A lot of that energy could be clean energy. A lot of that energy might be from traditional fossil fuel sources, but overall, it's going to bring down the cost of energy, and we would love to see you support that legislation in Congress.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, no, I've definitely been looking at that bill as it was getting marked up in committee. You know, I did see that it passed with 15 yeses. It's a real strong bipartisan bill, and there's a lot of things in there that I like. Is there any open-ended question that you might want to ask me from the lobby?
Is there anything that would keep you from voting against this bill?
Oh, you know, that's a really good question, and a tough one. Is there anything that would keep me from voting against? Well, you know, I can't really say it's an election year. You know, I don't know that I'm ready to say exactly yet, like in this meeting, yes or no. You know, from what I see, it looks really good.
And what kind of information might help you with your decision?
Well, gosh, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that because, you know, we have a lot to do in Congress, so we are extremely busy, and getting reliable information that is concise and that we know we can count on is a big reason why we love working with Citizens Climate Lobby. So, I mean, gosh, if you have like a one-pager or anything like that. Thank you. Oh my gosh, this looks great. All right, Energy Permitting Reform Act. I can see here that, yeah, this looks awesome. Well, I am pretty excited to dig more into it. How are we doing on our time for our meeting?
4 minutes.
Oh, 4 minutes. Let's talk more. Let's get the discussion going. You can also ask about other things that are interesting.
You know, Senator is the only senator running for office in your state that's actually from Montana, so congratulations on that. You know Montanans really appreciate bipartisan legislation. So I just want to specifically emphasize that so many of these bills rarely come out of committee with these bipartisan numbers. So I think your constituents would love that as they go to the ballot this November. I know our entire lobbying group really feels strongly about that as well as one of the big selling points of that.
Awesome. And what's your open-ended question there?
Thank you. Have you considered how bipartisan it could be and how great that would be for the citizens of Montana to see?
Well, thank you so much for that amazing question. And, you know, I love working across the aisle with my colleague, Senator Daines. He is on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. He helped to vote this bill out of committee and go on to the Senate floor. You know, he and I have done some real great laws together, and I want to do a lot more with him. And so, you know, we work very, very well with him. And yeah, we're talking to other offices from other states as well. We're excited.
Senator, I have a question for you. I'm very curious. What do you think are the best possible outcomes that could come from this bill?
Oh, what a beautiful question. Thank you so much for, you know, posing it. I think it is very important. Actually, a wise woman once told me, what if we get it right? And I just thought to myself, you know what? Well, when I'm out there on the farm with Shayla, that's her name, with Shayla, you know, sometimes I just look out onto my beautiful organic ag farm and I ask myself, like, what would this world look like for my kids, my grandkids? Are they going to be able to keep farming on this same land? And so that's kind of where I see us going, is, you know, beautiful smoke-free skies and thriving agricultural economy where we take care of our veterans and have a thriving democracy.
I really appreciate that, and I know our veterans do too. You do so much for our veterans, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I just want to make sure everybody knows we only have about 2 minutes left, so.
All right, yeah, well, this is...
Senator, do you have any questions for us?
Oh my gosh, yeah, thank you. Now you're really putting me on the spot. Now you're really putting me on the spot. What would Senator Chester want to ask you guys? So, well, just a little pivot, a political pivot. Other than the energy permitting reform, are there other policy areas or things that you're thinking about that you wanted to bring to my attention? Maybe a secondary ask, like the second policy that you wanted to talk to me about?
Well, Senator, this isn't really on many people's lips, but it's something that I know I'm thinking about. And as we all face housing crises across the West, I really wonder why our leadership's not talking about universal basic income. And I would really like it if you could consider bringing some policy forward that might help us get more people in houses faster with some universal basic income.
Wow, yeah, no, I mean, that is a, oh, okay,
and I know I really appreciate what you do for our veterans. I could really use some attitude.
Actually, guys, we really only have time for a picture, but Senator, would you like posing with our constituency?
You want to do it away from the screen because you're all.
yeah, let's do it over here on this side.
And it's okay if we put this on social media.
Yes. Just don't tag Senator Tester. At Citizens Climate.
Awesome. Cool.
Yay! Okay, and
Everybody, quick, sign this card.
Yeah, yeah.
Senator, we really appreciated your time. We wanted to hand this card.
Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh yeah, take your chairs home.
Don't forget about those veterans.
Okay, so since, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, yes, I'm so pleased to see a hands.
Yeah. Just a quick question. I'm sure that there's research behind it and whatnot, but a group of 6 to 7 folks involved with a single senator or maybe their aide, is there something to the balance of number in the room? Is there something behind that to have 6 different people, and are you effective with that many people in 10 minutes?
Number of people in the lobby meeting, is there a strategy? Bill Barron.
Yeah, that's a great question, and really what it boils down to is what the most effective number there is for people in a meeting. If we have more than 6 or so, there's people who really are not able to engage in that conversation. And part of it is that when we're meeting with members of Congress and we have volunteers coming from all over the country, we just try to be sure that everyone gets a certain number of meetings, and so it sort of boils down to metrics on how many meetings we are able to secure when we are meeting members of Congress, and we work from there. So typically we do, for House meetings, we'll do 5 to 6, and for Senate meetings, 6 to 7. Senate offices tend to be bigger. House meetings are pretty tight, or House offices are pretty tight, and of course there's always exceptions, and that may be that we have a community leader that joins in the meeting, so we may have an extra person. We are going to talk a little bit about virtual lobbying, and in that case sometimes we go with more numbers, again for an opportunity to have people participate.
Yes, more questions, and we have about 10 minutes for Q&A before we wrap it up with your homework.
This is quick, but I think you made it very easy on everyone, Lauren, because I think a lot of times, they might come back with a response related to economics or something. You made it very easy on this group. So I think it just to say when I'm new to CCL, but I'm really hoping I get to go to Washington this next summer. And one thing I've learned is that you really do need to be pretty well prepared before you go in to one of these sessions, because you have to be prepared for their responses, a rebuttal, and a gentle rebuttal.
Yeah, and Bill actually said, don't you think you should be a Republican? And I was like, what is permitting reform? And this is more, but you're absolutely right.
Again, it boils down to just doing research on the member and really understanding where they're coming from. It's like, know your audience and speak in a way that they can hear it, rather than going in there and maybe speaking the way you would communicate it naturally yourself, is like really understanding where they're coming from. And it may be as fine-tuning as, the member of Congress is more interested in foreign affairs than agriculture, and by knowing that, you can key into where their focus is and really hit on an area that is of interest to them, and it makes it a much more effective meeting.
And the last thing I'll just add is, when you lobby, you practice and you plan and you figure out what they're gonna say, and then you practice saying, what you're gonna say for what you think they're gonna say.
For as prepared as you guys are, have you run into situations where whoever you're speaking to, the senator, doesn't know the bill that you're talking about?
Yes.
All the time. Okay.
Yes.
Second part to that question too is how, I know you have to be respectful, right? But how blunt can you be with your ask, right? Senator, are you going to support this? Or
Well, I would say healthy forests. You tailor the ask.
I think you don't want to be too blunt. I think that, again, it's like, you want the member to feel comfortable in this conversation. And so if you're very pointed on what you'd like them to do, again, I think it creates that potential for a wall going up. And to your previous question, we don't meet with members of Congress all the time. We'll meet with staff as well, and sometimes meeting with staff is as effective or more effective than meeting with a member of Congress because they're specifically focused in a certain area. But there have been times where I've gone into meetings with a staffer who has no idea any of the bills that we're talking about. And it is frustrating. And I can also tell you that going back into when I first started lobbying in 2010 in DC, there was a lot of denial back then. And there were times where there was you'd walk out of a meeting and go, God, nothing happened there. This was painful. But the reality of it is just showing up and keep showing up and keep being respectful and keep asking for what you want has paid off to the point where now we look back at those years where it was really hard, and there's a lot of progress to be seen, and I think we all could probably benefit from celebrating the successes and the forward movement we have made. As we know, we want to be having it happen faster. We want more to happen, but we should take time to appreciate how far we've come, and really, again, try not to demonize the people we're meeting with, but rather celebrate the things that they are doing that you really appreciate, because it makes them feel good, which means that they will likely do more in that area.
Oh, and then I'll just say one quick other thing, which is in the meeting, when you say, hey, will you do this? You're going to meet with a staffer, they're going to say, I have to take it to my boss. They're not going to say yes, but then later, they will say yes. Yeah.
You talk about the ask early, but it sounds like a strategy if you're walking to see Tester. He's a rancher farmer. And are you going to ask him what his concerns are about individual ownership? And when you see private equity firms coming and taking your friends or other, constituents there, ask that question to get empathy and a feeling, and then follow up with another one. How would permitting reform help with that? Rather than talk at them, ask the questions to help them go right to where you want to get the ask. It would seem like a few key questions first, when you've done your homework, will set up that ask rather than asking too quickly.
What is your district? Where do you vote?
Boulder, Colorado.
Colorado, which district? Like 06, 07, 05. I'm asking because I need some leaders for our upcoming lobby meetings.
80026.
But yes, you're exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Putting those open-ended questions in from the beginning,
right,
and crafting them again, like to what we were talking about in the meeting planning, being very strategic about what questions you're going to get them to.
And you may start out with a meeting just saying we're here to talk about the permitting reform bill, just so they know, and then you start into the questions and be ready for the sharing the actual one-pager at the end.
Yeah, I would put all that information in the email that you asked for the meeting, so that people and the staffers have a chance to actually research what you're there to talk to them about, because the conversation will be a little bit deeper at that point too.
Check. Done and done.
Yeah, we're working with volunteers across the country. Volunteers have different levels of engagement, so we appreciate whatever it is, and there are there are volunteers who do exactly that. There's no guarantee that the staff will even look at it. You can go and I've seen where an email has been sent to the staffer, thoroughly read everything, knew exactly all the details, had amazing questions. And I've had people, staffers who, you know, got the same sort of thing and never had a chance to look at it because, and you have to appreciate that they're super busy and they tend to be spread thin in a way where they may not have the chance. And so the key to me is you can't take it personally if you put all this work into putting out this information and they didn't look at it at all. You know, you kind of got to let it slide over and just keep on pressing away.
But I agree, tell them what you're gonna tell them, go into the meeting, tell them what you're gonna tell them, make the conversation, and at the end, follow up. The volunteer who does that appointment setting is what we call our liaison. And so these are for all of the senators and almost all of the members of the US Congress, a volunteer who maintains that relationship. And it's a really fun leadership position within our organization. But I did see other hands, and we still do have like 3 more minutes. Yeah?
Being so volunteer-based, like I'm so new to all this lobbying stuff and going with all this fire and fervor, we're going to change the world, and then like, oh, change is slow, this is not what I want to get to. How do you debrief those meetings afterwards so your volunteers stay engaged once a week? Like maybe we didn't get this from today, but hey, you doing this, what we're doing this for, what ways do you continue to hear engagement as volunteers?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that typically in a lobby meeting, you're going to have people with a lot of experience, and what we try to do is bring people who have experience in with people who are new, so that the person who has experience sort of has that history that's led up to the meeting, so they can say, oh, you wouldn't believe it. When we met with them 5 years ago, they were in denial, and this is what we're talking about. We're talking about climate solutions now. So I think it's trying to be able to provide that history for people to really know that progress is being made. And I think, you know, it's a team effort. Like, it was really fun to see how the team came together here. Go team. And that, you know, you build this like connection because you're in it together. And I think I find that, you know, lobby meetings, even when they're hard, you're together and you're a team and you're doing a teamwork effort, you lift each other up because you're in it and you're doing good work, you're doing something that's really important, and you're engaging in democracy, which is incredibly valuable at this time.
Last question? Oh, let's hear from you. I haven't heard from you. This will be the last one. I'm sorry.
I actually have a few questions. Like, first of all, how do you create your long-term strategy with a specific member of Congress? Not just a short-term meeting, you know, one meeting strategy, but kind of over the arc of his career. And then another question: do you have benchmarks?
Let's just jump on the answer because it's harder to do a bunch of questions together.
And that will have to be the last one because we've got to wrap it up, sadly.
But you know, as far as long-term strategy, we really look at it more from strategically year to year, like what's the most effective. Citizens Climate Lobbying for many years was focused on carbon pricing as our one main thing, and then as with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, there's so much incentive for clean energy development and deployment that there was less of an appetite for carbon pricing, and we leaned into permitting reform because we know that the goals with the Inflation Reduction Act are such that if we do not speed up the permitting process, we're not going to meet those goals in itself, which are even less than the goals for the Paris Accord. So we're really trying to look at strategically how we can be the most effective each time we're lobbying members of Congress.
Speaking of meeting the goals, we got to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes, but I will just quickly throw out there that Bill and I are the regional, we support the volunteers, we travel the region. If you want us to come to your town and do this, or have the CCLers in your town do this with you, we can do it more. Congratulations, you have all been trained to lobby Congress, you're all invited.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about where we can go from here. So really, you know, we've been talking a lot about lobbying, and the best thing in our mind is getting volunteers and community leaders and people involved in actually lobbying members of Congress. Being there has a huge effect. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our lobbying both virtually and in DC. But you can also send a letter to your from your organization to show support. Sorry, I'm going to step back to the lobbying. This is our virtual lobbying effort, which happens in December. You know, virtual lobbying takes even more coordination than doing it in person because you have to do very effective timing to be sure that you cover all the topics that you want to in a virtual lobby meeting. But it's very powerful because you can bring community leaders into your meeting and they don't have to travel to DC. So this is really for people who are municipal electeds or anybody who has business relationships, have a voice that helps make it more powerful to be in meetings with volunteers. So we have a lobby week in December. It's the 9th through the 13th. We'd love to have you consider being involved or to speak up as a leader in your business or municipality. We also lobby in DC. This is our lobby day, over 1,000 strong. Last year we had 436 meetings on Capitol Hill in one day. And this is something that, when I first started lobbying, we had 25 people lobbying in DC. So, a huge growth as an organization. Members of Congress and staffers always talk about what an experience it is for them to walk the halls of Congress and see volunteers, climate advocates all over the place. So it's a very powerful experience and I encourage it highly. Trusted messenger, if you can't lobby virtually, if you can't make it to DC as a business leader or community leader and you want to make a contribution and assist us, it's really helpful to be a trusted messenger where we could provide a letter of support for the bills that we're advocating for as a way to help influence the conversation. So what's your next steps for lobbying? We'd love to invite you to consider getting involved with Citizens Climate Lobby. We have an abundance of resources because we want to be sure that our volunteers are very well prepared with peer-reviewed data and information so that we are the most effective and powerful lobbyists out there, and we're volunteers and we're coming because we're passionate about the issue. So we invite you to connect with local chapters. This is where you can get signed up for Citizens Climate Lobby and it automatically directs you to the chapter that's closest to you. We have a ton of resources through Citizens Climate Lobby. I'd love to bring up the Nerd Corner. We have a researcher who also writes for Yale Climate Connections, is very knowledgeable, and there's a whole team who does data research and drills down and gets information that really helps for the wonky people in the room to really understand details that might be really helpful for you. And that's all free resources. This is, you don't have to pay to join this. This is something that we want to provide as a service for volunteers who want to participate. We also have national teams. We have, spanning from electrification to agriculture. We want to promote the outdoor industry. Laurel and I started the outdoor industry action team in Citizens Climate Lobby, and we work really hard to get the outdoor industry leaders and businesses and organizations to use the power of their voice, because we believe that it's the outdoor people and community of the outdoor people that really can have effect on this issue. And with that,
we're done. We did it. So 1 hour